All right, everyone, welcome back. Today I have a very special guest with me. I have the founder of Valley DAO, a DeSci project, Albert. Albert, how are you doing today?
Doing great. Yeah, thank you for having me on. Yeah, always keen to catch up with you.
Yeah, so the first thing I want to kind of tell our audience about, or you could tell the audience, is what is your background and everything. What should the audience know about you, and all that stuff.
Yeah. I'm a scientist by training. My background is in biotechnology, engineering. Graduated 2015. I've been working in the biotech industry since then. Essentially, 2020, not 2015. 2015 was when I started studying, and I've been primarily building alongside entrepreneurial scientists who are pursuing the commercialization of their research essentially, and help them with everything from business development to fundraising. I've been part of creating different accelerators and innovation ecosystems, primarily in the Nordics. So I'm from Sweden originally, and yeah, that's been my passion, and primarily working at the intersection of biotechnology and climate solutions. Biotechnology generally associated with pharmaceuticals and human health, but there's a wide range of other applications that can be tailored for climate, to decrease carbon emissions, to improving agricultural and food production, removing microplastics from the environment, for example. And that's really what we are bringing forward with the science that we're funding through Valida.
Awesome. Yeah, so me and Albert actually met for the first time in real life. We didn't even know each other online. I was with Patrick in Dubai. This was in Dubai in April. And, we hung out together, went to a bar and everything. So it's, awesome to see that we're reconnecting now and everything. And that's when, I've known about DeSci since 23, and I've been involved in the Noble Blocks project since 2023. It was great to, meet you in person, everything. Great to meet, DeSci founders and stuff like that. But my first question is I asked this to because I talked to Research Hub. I think they're the last team. I had Edwin from Research Hub on, and this is the first question I asked all the DeSci, founders and people on the teams and stuff is, what is DeSci, but say it in kind of layman's terms, in an easy explainer way.
Yeah. People generally have a concept of what science is. They think about them as, they're academic institutions, universities, where scientists conduct research in the hopes of making the world a better place through technology development, pharmaceuticals, different solutions that just makes our life better. There is a sort of like a framework for how science is conducted. There are certain organizational structures. There are ways of thinking about how to conduct a scientific experiment, for example. Then there are ways for funding science today. I'm not going to go into the exact details of that. And there are ways of how the public gets to partake in that science and reap the benefits of it. Okay. And what DeSci is trying to do is really rethink all of these frameworks to make them essentially much more efficient. And so, there are a wide range of challenges right now with the current academic institutions, and DeSci is essentially trying to make it more efficient, where essentially more people can reap the benefits of science and create a much more transparent flow of information and solutions from academia to the people on the planet.
That's awesome. Now, could you talk a little bit about your project of Valley DAO? You talked about it a little bit in the beginning, and how you guys are contributing to DeSci. What is the problem you guys are attempting or looking to solve within the science space?
Yeah. So Valley DAO, the community, the founding team, we're super passionate about the climate. And there's so many, with the recent example of the forest fires in Los Angeles, not saying that climate change is causing that, because it's a very nuanced topic of like climate change to climate catastrophes. But we have seen over the last 50 years that these events are becoming more and more prominent. And at the same time, like the global temperature increase, also in the 50 years, have increased by 1.5 to 2 degrees. And in the next 50 years, we projected to reach like above average temperature of like 3 degrees, like Celsius. So Fahrenheit, they'd be like that's like 10 Fahrenheit or something like that. And that is really, really disrupting in a very negative way in a lot of ecosystems that we take for granted. So like, clean water, clean air, and, not having a bunch of toxins in our food, right? And, everything, like the ecosystem, it's a whole, everything is connected. So if we disrupt the micro ecosystem of one environment, it has trickle down effects to a lot of different things. So we predict, that, billions of people are going to be displaced in the next 25 to 50 years due to climate change. And so what we want to do, so we really see biology as a technology. And so biology as a technology is looking, in nature and see like the different processes there, and then see how we can simulate that in a lab to, for example, produce a biofuel or a bio, fertilizer that make, crops grow faster and being more nutritious. But to also, for example, find carbon capturing microorganisms that do it naturally. We take it to the lab and then we try to genetically engineer that to make them do it faster and more efficient. So basically taking carbon from the air and converting that into a useful product. And this product can be everything from like a nutrient to a material, like something that you can use for packaging, to a biofuel, to energy. And so there's like so much opportunity to create much more circularity and material processing. And with the research that we are funding and enabling, it's everything from, one of the projects that we funded at Imperial, for example, is focusing on how to, in the lab, using yeast to produce fats that are used for chocolate manufacturing, so that you don't have to ship it halfway across the globe. You can produce it locally in the same way that, for example, you would brew beer. And so, with that solution, we don't have to grow like the cocoa tree that takes like 30 years to grow, a bunch of resources, a bunch of human labor. We can just do it locally and enjoy chocolate, which everybody loves, right? And other projects that we funded are looking to create materials from everything, like applied from everything to aerospace, to clothing, to packaging, but that don't contain any forever chemicals. So these are toxic chemicals that enter our bloodstream. Brian Johnson talks a lot about this. He, does like a cleansing process, at the hospital or with a doctor, where he removes these compounds from his body because they do accumulate in our bodies from everything from drinking water to the food that we eat. So what we want to do is we want to remove these chemicals completely out of the process by providing new products that people consume, so that they don't leach into our ecosystems. So that's what, a different project that we're doing. And then recently we have with Hempy, if people go to www.hempy.science, you'll find out more, one of our more recent projects where essentially we are taking hemp fibers. So hemp, like the cannabis plant, essentially, and we are creating textiles out of that. So hemp, grows much faster than cotton, consumes way less water, and you don't need any pesticides. And so it's stuff that you throw on the crops to not, get the bugs to come and infect them. And so essentially, sustainable clothing that people feel good about wearing instead of wearing, stuff from like Temu or Shein or all of these websites where you can buy them for like $10, but all of those clothing are made out of oil, basically. So like polyester and shit. Yeah. So yeah, just to give you like a quick overview of some of the projects and really, the intention behind the research that we fund.
Awesome. So, Yeah, I think you may have kind of, answered and talked about this in some of the, the past two questions I've asked, but someone who would be a skeptic of DeSci would say, why couldn't this be done just in, I guess, the Web 2 traditional world, what you guys are doing, what other DeSci projects are doing? Why is this sector even needed? Like, how does the blockchain help? Why is the blockchain even needed to make all this possible? And I guess, like, what are some of the, like, once again, what are some of the flaws of, I guess, Web 2 traditional science that Web 3 DeSci science is solving?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's a super fair question to ask. So why blockchain, why Web3, and all of that. I think Web3 just makes opportunities more accessible to people. And so right now, like if you want to fund science and if you want to partake in like the cutting edge technology development, the only place that conducts that type of research is like private institutions like OpenAI or Tesla or Apple, for example. And of course, like you can, OpenAI, like you can't really just go there with your money and like, hey, I want like exposure or I want to support this initiative. And the other type of institutions that conduct the cutting edge, technology development, it's academic institutions. And it's the same story there. Like you can't go there, let's say, with your money or with your resources and say, I want to help science because I care about the future and I care about the livelihood of people on the planet. And so what DeSci enables is essentially a way to bridge the ability for any person in the world to fund the next cutting edge technology, particularly at academic institutions, but this could also be at any research and development organization. So really with the IP NFT and the IP token framework, it essentially enables scientists to go public with their research from day zero, and enable people to contribute with funds, and at the same time these people receive governance power over the resulting intellectual property. So they can, for example, decide what if the technology is successful and it generates revenues and profits, how are those profits used in the future. And so it's really like accessibility. And what the benefit that provides is that you increase the amount of available capital for science. Right now, it's quite isolated. Like the majority of funding for science is coming from the pockets of governments. And it's not always the case that the funding goes to the right places. So this is, it brings back power into the hands of the public to actually be able to fund what they want to see get developed.
Shoot, I think I'm lagging.
If that makes sense.
Oh no, my connection. Hold up, sorry, 1 second. I think my it's gonna take a second. All right, I should be back.
I think you dropped.
Did I drop? I am still here.
Yes.
Am I back now?
Yeah.
I need a.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, no, you're completely fine. You were fine the whole time. I started lagging. Yeah. All right. Okay. Yeah, I need to buy a new laptop. I need to make an effort to do that because this shit happened on the last one too. So, but anyways, yeah, no, that was great. So one of the things you brought up was the IP NFTs, and that's a product made by Molecule DAO, correct? And what is your guys' relationship to Molecule and Bio? So if you guys didn't know, the largest token in DeSci right now by market cap is Bio Protocol. It recently got listed on Binance, which was absolutely huge for the space. That's more liquidity coming in and more eyeballs looking at the sector. Now, what is Valley DAO? Since Valley DAO is a part of the family of, I think it's Bio Protocol's family with Athena DAO, Cryo DAO, and there's a couple other ones. But what is your guys' relationship with Bio Protocol?
Yeah, I mean, we've worked with Molecule and Bio Protocol since day zero. We've always been like arm's length with them. And like I'm sitting right now at their office doing like a team offsite and cooking up some new things that we want to develop. And yeah, I mean it's essentially like an ecosystem that we are part of, and that everything. We were early to receive like the incubation support that Bio Protocol provided. We got the initial funding, so it enabled me, for example, to go full-time crypto and
Awesome.
full-time DeSci. And this was back in mid 2022. And from there we were able to build out the ecosystem further, build out the product further, fund a couple of initial projects, build out the community, raise more funding, and really be able to sort of like last and have enough time to really prove ourselves for everyone, from the to the DeSci skeptics, to the people who've never heard about DeSci, and fortunately now we can actually, we're one of the oldest projects in the space.
Wow.
And that's really been to like really good for us, because now we have like, demonstrated, time in the market, time in the ecosystem, and so on. So, Bio Protocol, highly recommend. And by the way, they are constantly funding new DAOs too. So I think there's a bunch of announcements coming up there as well. And so if people who want to build in DeSci, definitely reach out to me, and I can connect people to Bio Protocol and so on.
Awesome. Yeah, it's really interesting to see, how the space has grown. Like I said, the first time I heard about it was at the beginning of 2023. It was me, Patrick, aka That Investor, and Josh or Jake. I remember I was on Airbnb with them, and Josh and Patrick were showing me DeSci, and at the time I had never heard about it. And it was super, super small. And I was like, what is this thing, et cetera. And then I met Delroy later on in 23, and then me and Patrick got involved with Noble Blocks. So I've been around for a little bit, definitely not as long as you. How long have you been in this?
Late 2021.
Wow.
That's when I started dabbling in different Discord servers and just, I contributed a little bit to Vita DAO, learned a little bit from that, and then just, literally like created a group chat, and then people started joining, and then, we had a Discord server, and things just, started rolling from there.
Yeah. And recently, there's been a lot of attention, given on the space by guys like CZ, Brian Armstrong, Vitalik. But this isn't the first time they had talked about it. People right now are starting to, I see it, kind of the timeline. There's more influencers. Recently in the past month or 2 months, there was more influencers than ever talking about DeSci. And, some of the people kind of thought it was a super new thing when, obviously it's new, but it's not super new. It's not like it just showed up in the past year. It's been here for, years on end. And that's something I think some people need to kind of understand is the people are here and they're building and they're serious. It's not like, something where, you just jumped in a month ago or something like that. Because a lot of people are, they kind of think that. But it's kind of weird because Brian Armstrong, he got in Research Hub, I think, in 2019, 2020, 2021, somewhere in there. So he's been there for a while, which, people should know that. And also CZ had first initially kind of hinted at, maybe it wasn't his first time, but he talked, I remember DeSci had its first kind of run in late 23 after CZ made that tweet. But can you speak about, I guess, kind of the impact those guys have made on the space, like CZ, Brian Armstrong, and Vitalik, and just giving, like, eyeballs to the space, and how much has the space changed, I guess, since you've been in since 21?
Yeah. I think it's been, they've had a huge impact on the space positively, and also a little bit negatively. I will go into that later.
All right.
By acknowledging it, right? I mean, these people, they have so much power in the space. Literally, like if they just tweet fart, you have 10 new fart coins, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And so them acknowledging it, and them acknowledging it in a way that is like, we believe biotech is the future, and crypto has a role in disrupting biotech and then disrupting science, has been a huge boost for the space. But of course, now it's up to the space to really demonstrate what it can, like the impact that it can really drive. And so while it has benefited the space, the expectations have also increased. And so the bar is much more higher now. And we're super fired up about that. Like we actually like it. Like it's because it's like, as a founder of a project, you get way, way more motivated to really, go 110% in on the work that you're doing every day. Maybe speaking maybe to the negative aspects of this newly introduced hype. There's a lot of random projects popping up here and there who have not, let's say, suffered through the building cycle of a bear market and suffered through the amount of uncertainty and doubt. Because I really think that shapes you in a way as a founder of a project. And you sort of get a better understanding of like what it takes. Because like back in the bear market, like we were building things, but it was always like a doubt of like, oh, will this fly? Will people care about this ultimately? And now like the DeSci thesis is playing out, so we are able to crowdfund science on chain in a matter of like one of our projects, Cardaforge, which is minting tomorrow. I mean, this video will not be out by tomorrow, probably.
No, it's gonna be up tonight.
So today,
it's gonna be out tonight.
Yeah. Oh, okay, it's going out tonight. Okay. Yeah, January 16th. So January 17th tomorrow. It's gonna mint European time in the morning. That project was funded in 20 minutes.
Wow.
200,000 in 20 minutes, and I think. And if somebody can prove me wrong here, please, people more than welcome to prove me wrong, because I don't know. But I think this is the world record in how fast a academic project gets funded. I don't think even Kickstarters.
I have to say, Noble Block sold out $1 million worth of ETH in 2 seconds. So
yeah, but that was more like an ICO. Like
that is true. Okay, so it's not an ICO. It wasn't an ICO.
What is it? Huh?
It wasn't an ICO.
Okay. It was a sale of some sort.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, but I mean, just like for this particular research, like it was a fundraise, a crowdfund for a research project. It got funded in 20 minutes. Of course, there are some nuances to that, but it's something that we are quite proud about.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, it's great to see that, there's a lot of attention on the space, because I'm someone who's been, in this space, but Patrick has been the guy, my closest link to the space and everything. He's been in it for a while.
I love Patrick. I really appreciate that guy. And,
he's a warrior, me, we all know this, but, DeSci has not always been the hot thing with market share and a lot of people, tweeting about it, et cetera. It has had times where, nobody gave a single shit about it. Even just this summer, I mean, it kind of had a boom and then it kind of, Research Hub coin was probably at 10 cents or something. There wasn't that much attention on the space. And even, I've seen kind of a lot, there is, I will say out of any single sector in crypto, you guys do, kind of face a lot of challenges when it comes to skeptics. I say, there's not a single sector in crypto that I've seen have as many skeptics as you guys, just from what I've seen from, their other KOLs and, stuff like that. Of course, people come around to it in time and stuff like that. And I do, one of the things you talked about is the people building the bear. And I do understand that because, I'm a guy who, I started working in crypto. I started making content in early 21, but I started working in crypto professionally early 22, worked through the whole bear market. And I don't think people understand what it means to really work in a bear market, really no matter where you are. You could be in, we saw FTX blow up. We saw the largest hedge funds blow up, 3 Arrows Capital, Luna, Terra. Even if you're a big guy in the space, you still, were facing some issues. And I think that is a testament to, your type of conviction. And especially because you're in a sector that in 23, 22, 21, I mean, I had never heard of it, so it's a very small sector, which is a testament to how much conviction you and your team have. And a lot of people in the space, because there's some people who see it now and they think this is a whole super new thing. And I'm like, it's not, because how it is in crypto. Yeah. The new narrative now is DeFi AI and, AI agents. DeFi AI, yeah. All this shit, and it's great. Yeah. I think at the end of the day, we're all competing for market share and stuff. And something, that I kind of really, I've seen it in, my thing is ICP, and I've seen it in my community too, where the community's gotten a lot bigger and there's new people who show up. And it is a reality of it. You do have to constantly be battling with market share because, the crypto cabal shows up and next thing you have, some guy and you don't know who he is and he launches his token, it goes really hot. And next thing everyone's talking about him. They're not talking about you, stuff like that. So, but I do think it's good to see sectors and stuff get bigger because at the end of the day, it's like you're completely benefiting. The bigger DeSci gets, it 100%, makes Valley DAO better. Of course, there's some negative aspects to it, but I would say overall it's a net positive that, guys like Binance, and I think Binance and, Coinbase and all these guys who are in the game now, I think they're just, dipping their toes in. I think they're going to go, I think they're going to be full porting this sector. I think it's going to take time and it's going to happen over time. But I think, I don't think, they're just, how much did Binance invest in Bioprotocol? Like $10 million? Was it? Or was it less?
No.
More than
They
that?
usually, I think I don't know the exact number, but I think their check sizes are around everything from 100 to 500,000.
Okay.
Maybe they go up to 1 million. But I actually don't know how much they did, and it was never announced. I don't know actually.
Okay. But
It was just like we did this thing, we invested.
Yeah. And I think the point I'm trying to get across is basically that there is a lot of upside to this, and there is a lot of capital that's, looking to come in and has come in. So I think it's just the beginning of it. Patrick likes to say DeSci is going to take 2% of the crypto market, and honestly, it's very possible. I'm not, I think it could very well happen. There's a lot of, and if you're an investor in this, and if you're watching this video, of course, not financial advice, but I think the market cap of DeSci is what, under 2 billion, something like that right now. It's pretty small.
What is the market cap of like Ethereum Classic? Like, isn't that like 10 billion?
No, it's more than that. It's probably like 4 billion.
Yeah, it's 4 billion. And what's the market cap of like DeSci right now? It's like barely a billion, like it's floating around one and like maybe one and a half,
like that.
roughly. So yeah, I mean, valuations that like they're a weird thing in crypto. They should always be really taken weird. With like, of course, like a grain of, they're relative. So always look at them like relatively, I would say. And yeah, I mean, maybe, DeSci is one of the core narratives. And like, I don't even know where we are in the cycle. Like we could maybe we're talking in that right now. And like, we're literally at the top, who knows? But yeah, I think there's so many future inflection points and DeSci remaining. One way to think about it is, the moment Binance and CZ acknowledged DeSci, like through the investment that they made into Bio and the listing, that like Binance has 250 million users. So potential exposure to that amount, maybe let's say a tenth of that. So 25 million people saw the announcement. They saw it like on their mobile app as they're browsing through and like, oh, Bio, what is this thing? They go down the rabbit hole. And the hardcore, like people who maybe come from a scientific background and have always wanted to work at the intersection of science and crypto, are started taking it seriously and are now building their projects, right? And that's a fresh injection of human like intellect and capital coming into the system that hasn't come to the surface yet, right? And like one example of that is like, for example, Yes No Error, for example, right? That's like a newly formed project, and it's obvious that the product that they've built is like very smart, very elegant solution. And I think there's going to be potentially 50 to 100 more of really, interesting projects that come out in the, over the next 5 years. So there's just like, so many inflection points. I can say what the exact inflection points are, of course, but I think there is just so much remaining to be seen in this space overall that we can have some hopium about, perhaps.
Yeah. My next question is, do you guys, when you're onboarding and talking to scientists, et cetera, do you ever see some friction between, I guess, the Web 2 scientific community and the Web 3 scientific community and trying to pitch them on this whole new thing and blockchain technology and why you need it and, why you should come over to DeSci if you are a Web 2 scientist, et cetera? I'm saying Web 2 scientist sounds so silly, but, do you have, I think you get what I'm trying to ask you. How is that conversation though?
The conversation is, I think it stems from just a preconceived notion that is built on just not fully understanding the space and just, their main exposure to crypto has been, news headlines with like FTX, Luna, like the thing that come to the surface and become like big sensational global hits that everybody knows about. Even my dad and my mom, they knew about the FTX crash.
Yeah.
Because I was like receiving letters, the legal letters that you receive whenever like a company goes bankrupt. Like if you were on I didn't lose anything. I just had an account, so fortunate. But they saw, oh wait, isn't this the exchange that just like crashed so hard? So that gives you a sense of like how far these like news headlines reach us, and it's really like the reference point for a lot of people that are new to crypto. And so the conversation has been mostly disproving and demonstrating, what DeSci, disproving, the preconceived notion about like crypto being a scam. Of course, there's a lot of scams in crypto, but there's also a lot of legit stuff, and the legit people that are all like actually trying to make a change. So disproving that, and then at the same time educating about like what is DeSci, what are the benefits, how does like an IP token work, what are the opportunities for you as a scientist. You can get funded much faster, and you can start your work without having to wait 6 months. Like 6 months, 3 months in biotech is a long time, because there's a lot of, like, especially if you work on something new, there's always that risk that somebody might, with more resources, might be able to beat you. In terms of like timing wise. And that's a huge deal of being able to get funded in weeks or maybe like a month, as opposed to waiting for 6 months. Like, so potentially, researchers that are less resourced when it comes to funds, but are extremely intellectually capable and really good at their craft, can get a significant advantage over somebody at, let's say, like Harvard or MIT or Stanford, and that, I think that's a new dynamic that I think is really healthy for science in general.
Yeah. And I think, something you touched on, the fact that crypto right now, crypto, I think the reputation is getting a lot better, especially because we have President Trump now. He's, he's talking about crypto, and the space is getting a lot more legitimized. I think, because if you search up crypto and you search up Bitcoin on YouTube and you look at like the top Instagram reels for crypto and on TikTok, like it's a lot of garbage.
It's all Trump.
It's all.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's just all garbage, So it's like people look at it and they're like, this is a fucking scam and this is bullshit, because it's just like, XRP to $10,000, all this other shit, which is fine. You got to have your moon voice, and at the end of the day, anyone can say whatever they want online, and those are the ideas that are ultimately getting to the top. That's what I guess the people want. But it is a lot of, kind of, I guess, a lot of garbage in the space, but it's slowly getting weeded out. And, well, I guess on the contrary to that, there is, more and more garbage coming in as this thing continues to get bigger. But I think what I'm trying to say is the cream rises to the top. I think at the end of the day, the market always sorts itself out, and the people who are legitimately providing value are always going to ride to the top. I mean, you see this
natural
in the bear.
It's like a natural selection process. In a way, right?
Yeah.
Like whoever is fit to, survive the ups and downs and that are not completely illegitimatizing their reputation and what they're building by essentially like scamming people. They always lose, and we see that over and over again. Like, people thought Richard Hart, for example, would never have any issues, yada yada, and now he's like the final pin sort of the scammy influencers and shit. I mean, there's so many more scammy influencers, but like the big ones are actually, and that's why in a way, like a lot of people like shit on the SEC. Of course, they have been inhibiting a lot of innovation, but being able to get rid of like a lot of the garbage and setting higher expectations on people, so to be more careful, because I think it's an important thing that people don't. The thing is, like in crypto, like it's not like with a traditional startup where you can run fast and break things, because in crypto, like if you deploy a smart contract, like that's in most times like an irreversible action, and so you have to really think things through. And I think that SEC fulfilled like some sort of like a beneficial role, but of course, like they did a lot of bad stuff too. So, but yeah, I mean, now with the Trump administration, it looks like the future of crypto looks brighter. I wouldn't say it looks bright yet, but it looks brighter, and that is also, I guess, reflected in the in price action and sentiment. And yeah, I just think it's fascinating that the U.S. president is like acknowledging something that was primarily for, cypherpunk add-ons on the internet, working on like some crazy cryptography stuff that nobody like knew about, and now it's worldwide. And that our president acknowledging it is just, it's crazy. Yeah. lack
Yeah.
of a better term.
And I think it 100% helps. I think we're probably going to see President Trump be very pro crypto and, put in the right policies. So there's like clear guidelines to crypto companies on what is good and what's not good, et cetera. Because literally the SEC was just not giving, clarity to companies. We saw this whole thing that went on with Coinbase, and Coinbase, kind of fought. And it did, I'll tell you, and it kind of matters by jurisdiction. If you're somebody in Hong Kong or somebody in the UAE where they're super crypto friendly, or even like Switzerland, there's a much different sentiment around the people regarding the technology rather. And like even the US, a lot of, boomers and stuff, I remember talking to one of my friend's dads, and he was just like, because he knew I was working at DeSci's at the time, and he's like, well, DeSci's just got, sued by the SEC. They're just in this lawsuit because, they sued Near, Solana, everybody on all the major coins on Coinbase. They hit them. There was like, I don't know, 20 coins. And I had to explain to him, hey, it's not bad. This is I'm trying to explain to him I guess it was political at the time. I think Gary Gensler, was doing wrong things, etc. But it just, overall, that's what makes the headlines on the news. They see, the SEC sued Coinbase and they're suing all these other companies. And I know this because and I talked to some people at DeSci about it. I used to work there, etc. But I talked to them recently. It's incredible how most of these crypto companies, they were spending all their legal time and legal fees just dealing with the US SEC, like literally all of it. So, and it was kind of incredible, and obviously the US has, the most capital in the world. It's, one of the largest by population. There's a ton of liquidity there. So I think, the USA having a really positive outlook. I mean, Trump says, he literally said crypto is going to have a bigger run than we think it's going to have. He said that back in summer at the Bitcoin conference. But I think we're going to see some, hopefully, obviously nobody knows it's up, down, sideways. Nobody actually knows where the market's going to go except the market makers themselves. But I think we're going to see a lot of really good things come out of this year. But I will say one thing is that, once again, you touched it, the bear market really does weed out a lot of people because when we hit the bear market, all this shit's going to drop like really quickly and the funding's just going to go out the room and you're going to see who's actually there and who's going to show up when there's not a ton of money floating around. Because right now we're in this, economic environment where the economy's hot. You're able to, the fact that meme coins like Fartcoin and, Peanut are able to run to 2 billion, people are going to look back on that in 2 years from now and be like, yeah, the market was very hot. So, but also on the contrary to that, you want to take advantage of the market being hot. When it's always, this is how everyone knows this, it's bull markets, bear markets, it's hot and then it's not hot, it's not. So, obviously once we have a bear market, we'll return to, the market being super hot again. But I'm just super bullish on what we got going on and everything. And I think DeSci's perfectly positioned and everything like that. My laptop is unfortunately like kind of a piece of shit and starting to run low. And I know you also got to run too. So I guess, like last words, what are some, if you could let the audience, I guess, know one thing about DeSci and your project, what would you let them know?
Ooh, we have a really, really interesting project coming up in collaboration with the most prominent biohacker probably in the world. Can't say the name yet. But you've most likely seen her on a range of different biohacker documentaries on Netflix, etc. And the project is related to pets.
Okay.
So that we were super stoked about that. It's going to be like hardcore genetic engineering stuff, and really, it can really redefine the overall like pet industry and just like animals in general. So we're super stoked about that. It's also, we're going to do it in partnership with Bio also, most likely. So still in conversations about that. And like our goal is to really bring forward science in biotech that makes people really see the potential and the role of biotech in the future. We think that biotech is the next AI. It is like the next frontier, because like biotech right now, I mean, when it comes to like the potential future developments, like it's super like high up, like it's a super high up ceiling essentially. Whereas with computer science, like a lot of that is sort of like topping out a little bit, and like it's reaching a maturity stage where like innovation is just like a little bit more steady. But our projection is like biotech is just getting started. And, new breakthroughs are happening all the time. And biotech, it deals with atoms. It doesn't deal with bits. So it can literally like redefine and rethink our physical world, and rethink health and rethink, planetary health, climate, food production systems, all of that. So yeah, we're super stoked to be at the, at the helm of that, and bring forward science that makes people really understand biotechnology. Because I still think most people don't really fully understand what biotech can do, and that's what we wanna, we wanna open up that world to people, while at the same time developing products and solutions that can help people on the planet.
Yeah, that's great. And last question, where should people, follow you and everything? I have the Valley DAO. I shared my screen. I have the Valley DAO
Yeah.
Twitter here. So
Yeah, you can follow us on Twitter. That's where we're most active. And for you, maybe TradSci people, we're on LinkedIn as well, so you can find us there. You can follow me at on Twitter at the Albert Anis, and of course, like we have a Discord if you want to come in, if you want to join as a contributor, get into the trenches with us. We're a community. We have roughly 50 active contributors of scientists and entrepreneurs who show up every week and co-build alongside us. So if you're passionate about climate, if you're passionate about biotechnology, Valley DAO is the DAO for you. Now the lights turned off.
I know.
I guess that's a good cue for maybe wrapping things up.
Yeah. All right, everyone. This was an amazing conversation with Albert, the founder of Valley DAO. Super awesome and informative. I always love having these DeSci conversations because I don't know that much about it. So it's always good to learn. And hopefully, if you made it this point, you learned something. And definitely go check out Valley DAO and everything. They're doing super cool things. As Albert said, he's been building this for a while. So yeah, and if you haven't seen me for the first time, go follow me on Twitter, Aaron Bremser X. All my socials are right here as usual. And yeah, leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that shit. So yeah, and
thank you so much, Aaron, for inviting me, reaching out. Always a pleasure, and really hope to see you in person sometime soon.
Yeah, for sure. And thank you all for watching.